Hi, I'm Catherine Kelly, and I know I'm probably looking a little ghostly out here. I'm actually standing on my back deck, and I had to come out here because it is that time of the year when, as you might be able to hear if you listen real closely, the frogs are singing. This is one of my most favorite sounds of spring. In fact, it probably is my favorite sound of spring. There's also some geese in the lake back there, so you might hear them kind of making their sounds. There they go, right there. And what I'm talking about today is basically how to flood your senses to feed your soul. You know, this whole process, and I'm going to have to compete with these guys right now. But this whole process of this year is about teaching people how to feed their souls, both through Zen kinds of things, things that just are very centering, and then also through zany kinds of things, things that are fun and jovial and spontaneous and playful. And to me, the sounds of spring are both. Because to me, when I hear these frogs, it creates an excitement in me. It creates an anticipation that I absolutely know spring is on the way, that summer and warmth and fun and travel and all kinds of wonderful things are on the way. And so for me, it's one of the favorite sounds that I have. And you know, this year it's been kind of interesting because we actually had the frogs singing off and on since December because our temperatures have been warm enough that basically they've gotten a little confused. So this whole climate change is definitely a reality because I don't ever remember these guys being able to sing this early because of the cold. But we had some 60 and 70 degree days throughout. But the beauty of it was, even in the heart of winter, I got to hear this. And it was just, again, almost a nice anticipation to help me get through the winter months. So, when I talk about feeding the soul, one of the things I try to encourage people to do is consider just flooding their senses with things that feed them at that deep level. So, things that you hear, what are the sounds that you absolutely love hearing that do fill you up and help you feel richer and feel much more full as far as how these guys are having some fun back here, but how we feel rich, how we feel full. What are the things that we see that we need to see on a regular basis that help feed our soul? Now, for me, as you've probably heard and read and see, I have to be around trees. There's something about the energy of trees and being able to see trees on a regular basis that really grounds me. And in Chinese medicine, basically trees, the tree energy is all about groundedness and feeling like you're anchored. And yoga poses, you know, tree poses all about anchoring you and helping you feel strong and upright and full. But it's like, what do you need to see in your life on a regular basis in order to feel like you are filling your soul? Now, having grown up in the Rocky Mountains, I'm much more of a mountain girl than a beach girl, but I still love going to the ocean and watching the waves kind of wash in and out, which to me is a very zen activity. But on the other hand, a lot of people go to the beach because they like to play in it. So seeing those waves for other people is more of the zany kind of filling your soul. So between hearing what you see, I also think about what are the smells that you like, that you really need in order to feed your soul. Now, aromatherapy has been around for years and years and years, but it's also about personalizing the smells. You know, there are certain smells that just bring me way back to memories when I was a kid. Different kinds of baking always bring me back to the kitchen with my mom. I grew up baking a lot with my mother, and so anytime I make certain things, it just brings me right back there, and it kind of feeds my soul in a different way. But also, the smells of spring for me are fantastic. The tulip trees here are bursting right now, and they're beautiful, huge. They call them tulip trees because each bud looks like a tulip. And these rich, full trees are just not only wonderful to see, but the fragrance that comes from them is just magical to me. The smell of fresh grass. When I was driving home from work, I could smell that someone had recently mowed their grass, and I brought it in. It just was wonderful to breathe that air in as deeply as I could. So between hearing and seeing and smelling, what are the tastes that feed your soul? Now, there are certain things that you just taste and you are absolutely feeling like you're indulging in ecstasy. And so excuse me, you have to think about what is it that really feeds my soul. Now, the caveat to this, or the trick to this, is that so many people think they're feeding their soul with food, But that's not the case at all for people who overindulge or who are emotional eaters or basically can't stop. Because basically every craving can be um, taken care of or satisfied within 3 bites. So basically, it is those first 3 bites are what feed your soul. Anything after that is just eating. So you have to be a little careful with tastes. So what is it that feeds your soul? What is it that brings you to that groundedness, to that peace inside, to that soul health, that alignment with yourself? But that one's really tricky because again, if we overindulge, that's no longer feeding your soul. It's basically feeding an emotional kind of thing. But there are tastes, the produce, the watermelons, the strawberries. North Carolina has some wonderful strawberry farms right close, and so I can't wait for April to come because usually mid to late April they're starting to harvest and starting to get ready to sell these, which is fabulous. Different parts of the country have different kinds of things that pop up at different times. And again, it's about feeding your soul with those things. You look forward to those crops being ready. And so we have to really think about, again, what are we hearing? What are we seeing? What are we tasting? So that we can feed our souls in those ways. The other thing I think about is what do we sense? What kind of senses do we need in order to feed our souls? So, we're right at the end of spring, and so I can no longer wear a lot of my sweaters. Now, this is a little bit of a sweater, but my big boofy, oversized sweaters that I love to wear, sweatshirts, the coziness of those kinds of things. I love the feel of those. But again, I look forward to it in the winter, but I also look forward to spring and summer when I can go completely barefoot. I'm not a shoe girl. I like shoes, but basically I love to kick them off and go barefoot. Often in my office, you'll see me walking around without my shoes on. And I love that piece because I love feeling my feet on the ground or on the earth. And so it's again, what is it that is helping you feed your soul? And how can you really bring all of that in? So you've got the hearing, you've got the sight, you've got the taste, you've basically got the senses working for you, and you have to think about what else there is that feeds your soul in order to flood your senses in a healthy way so that you feed your soul as much as possible. And a lot of people don't take time to think about, well, what are the sounds and the sights and the tastes and the smells and those sensations? What are those things that help feed me to the point where you can use the natural approaches to feeding your soul rather than looking outside of yourself to artificially feed yourself through food or alcohol or drugs or too many video games or too much TV or whatever it is, because those don't necessarily feed your soul. In fact, sometimes they ignore what needs to be fed. So I just want you to spend some time thinking about what is it that you can flood your senses with in a healthy way that will help you feed your soul, whether it's playfully or zenfully, and see what you can do to boost that sense of, again, that sense of radiance and that sense of soul health for yourself. So I'm going to let you listen to these little guys for just a second. Love these guys. And if you like what you've heard and you'd like to see or hear more, you can go to my webpage at www.drcatherinetkelly.com. And on the left side of my page are all of my social media links where you can click onto my blog, my Facebook page, my meetup group, Twitter, all of those kinds of things, my Pinterest, Instagram, all of those, and just get different tips for the day or different kinds of things. There comes my lights, that might help you also continue on your path of soul health. So everything I do is teaching you how the soul works with reference to the human condition. So I'm going to keep going with that, and I hope that you're getting out of it whatever you can so that you can feed your soul and get to that ultimate soul health. Thank you and have a great day.